A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast, and we're still waiting for Sam.
A Badge of Honor.
Welcome to A Badge of Honor. You messed me all up. To A Badge of Honor podcast powered by the OBBN Network. Stop pressing buttons. The OBBN
I know.
Network.
Sorry about that.
Want to welcome Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Doing great. Just a lot of, you know what I think it is that everybody is logging on for the show and logging on to the internet. So we're actually crashing everything, which...
Well, that's a good thing.
I don't know. I heard that's a good thing.
So. That means a lot of people are backing our blue. That means a lot of people are tuning in to back our blue. And that's what they should do.
We got off a great walk the bridge last night out here in Rockwall. Had a lot of people show up, to remember NYPD, as well as the firefighter, Dallas firefighter that we lost. Yeah, this is a critical time, and it even, I'd say, more critical because of what you just shared, before the show. So let's just jump in, and it kind of perfectly with the guests that we have on tonight.
Yeah, I just want to touch a little bit more on Walk the Bridge. If you don't know what Walk the Bridge is about, go to walkthebridge.org. Follow us on Facebook, and be a part of this movement, this mission that's grown across the world. Actually, we have walks in Rockwall, Fort Worth, UK, London, England, Chicago, and Montana. And last night, you guys had a nice big following over in Rockwall. We had over 35 members come over into Fort Worth, along with Steve Piper and his another buddy played the bagpipes and led the procession in honor of that NYPD officers and the Dallas firefighter who lost their battles to post-traumatic stress. So it is a growing movement. Anybody can be a part of it. So join us on the third Sunday of every month. So go to www.walkthebridge.org to find out your closest walk. And now it's time for me to vent. You ready? Or are you frozen?
Venting, go.
Go. Oh, I'm not allowed to curse, and I can't. I really, I got to watch my words because, oh my God, the culture will cancel me out. It breaks my heart. And I was talking to the Chicago PD last night. I was talking to Steve, who is a member of Chicago, and another guy, Neil, who is visiting from Chicago. He is still he's a retired police officer from Chicago. And we were connecting, and I asked him, how many people you have in your academy right now? Because Chicago is really under the gun. They're getting over 900 retirement papers have been pushed in since this SAFE Act has hit on January 1st. So they got over 900 people retiring. So I go, well, how many people are in the academy that want to serve the public? And he goes, you're never going to believe this. He goes, less than 20, and they had to lower the standards to get those 20 in, which is a scary thing. We're going to start lowering our standards for our police academies just to start filling seats. It was at a point where you needed a college degree, you needed some college credits to become a police officer, show that responsibility. But now we are, lowering it to the point where even if you're convicted of a crime, a misdemeanor or a light felony, sure, we'll give you a badge and a gun and you can protect the streets. And that is the sad fact of where we're coming to. New York, my academy class was over 2,000 strong. Now they are lucky if they can get 80 to 100 people in New York City to get into that academy class because nobody wants a job, because they're demoting the job. They are making the police as victims all across our nation. And LA, I'm going to call out LAPD Chief Michael Moore. How ballless are you? You have no balls. You should be taken off. You should take your uniform off and go be part of the woke community, because he now has, because
well, he should be removed as chief.
He should be removed as chief. He really should. He lost all respect across the nation from every police officer that wears the badge and puts on the badge and protects and serves their communities, because he banned the blue line flag. He said it is not allowed to fly outside any LA precinct. He goes, oh, but you can keep it at your desk, but you can't have it. It will not fly in the lobby of the police departments. It will not fly outside. Why? Because a couple of extremists, a couple of people said it's racist. It is connected to the Proud Boys. It is an extremist flag. Are you kidding me? This woke generation has to stop. We are headed. Crime is rampant. Crime is rampant through the streets in every community, every city, every state. And you can see the Democratic states, and I hate to point those guys out, but it's where it's happening. It's the Democratic states that are losing control because they're bowing down to this woke system that is just not working. And police officers, the morale is so low, they are not going to risk their lives anymore because they don't have backing from their own chiefs. They don't have backing from their own politicians that serve that community. So they're walking away from the job. They're walking away. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do this job in the next couple of years? What kind of investigators are we going to have? Seasoned police officers to investigate crimes, to solve murders, to solve rapes. We're losing all that. We're losing our security in our nation because of this woke. And you know what? That's why I'm so glad to have the people that we have on today backing the Blue in Denton. They are a support network for our police officers. And you know what? And there's got to be more pop-ups like this, more people doing what these young ladies are doing each and every day, supporting our blue line, man. You can't cancel it. Who are you going to call when you have an emergency? 911, I'm telling you, it's going to be absolute sooner or later, and you're going to be put on hold. And it kills me. I'm sorry. Enough of my vent.
Well, that's what we know. No, yeah, and rightfully so. That's how we know John is like, he has no more words. He has words, but we can't use those words. We'd like to use those words, but it's all about what he said. This story comes out, and John's always says, you know, we meet people when we meet people for a reason, and it's not a coincidence that we have you guys on tonight. Welcome, Heather, Lisa, and Lisa. Welcome. From Backing the Blue-Denton. And John said it. It's backing. It's an action step. Let's get right into talking about how this all started. Heather, we'll start with you. How did this start? How did you start?
So after the Dallas shootings, a group of women came together and said, we want to do something to help. We want to raise funds. We want to do something to help those families that are hurting and are needing just the basics right now to get through. And it started with a very big idea of, if we did a gala or all these big things, but we needed something quick. And it came down to, well, quick throw together and quick to raise money is a car wash. So we went old school and just did a car wash, and we did really well. Wow. And a few of those women stuck with it and said, we want to keep going with this. We want to keep doing things to help our local community, our local Denton County officers and their families. So we created the Backing the Blue nonprofit and made a board, and we've been continuing to raise funds and help officers since then. Some of what we've started in the last 5 years has been more focusing on the mental health, because as much as everyone sees when someone gets injured, but no one was really showing up but they just went through a critical incident. What can we do to help them? And what does their family need to be hearing right now? And doing more support without being out in the open about it. Because sometimes they don't want that attention, but they need the help, and letting them know that we can do that. We can be there, talk to your wife or your, even check in with your kids and get them the support they need, whether it's through peer support with us or through actual paying to help them go see a counselor. So, and then Lisa came in after pretty early on before even the car wash.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So I came in about a week after the initial meeting.
Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah. So we actually, when she said we did well with the car wash, we raised over, I think it was over $18,000.
Wow.
And we were able to write a check for every person who lost their life that day and every person who was injured that day. And so we were able to do that, and we wanted to continue, like she said. So we started with small things, with just supporting a family if they had a baby or if they were ill, with the overall mission being if somebody was injured or killed in the line of duty, we would be there for whatever was needed. And then we started.
Lisa, I just want to for our listening audience, to raising funds is so important, and $18,000 is a significant amount, because just to let everybody know that's not a first responder, when an officer gets injured in the line of duty, okay, not every department will pay medical benefits, and sometimes when a officer loses his life, sometimes those insurance benefits aren't paid for a year or 2 years before the spouse gets those funds, but the bills still keep piling up. And they are out on workman's comp. They're not getting their salaries. So what you guys are doing is commendable. You actually saved those households by what you guys are doing. So thank you.
We felt like there was something we wanted to be hands-on to do, and it wasn't. So that was the thing that we came up with. The easiest was financially. So like I said, we do all kinds of support as far as, we can set up a meal train and nothing flat, but we also will do a fundraiser. We had an officer that was shot here in Denton a couple of years ago. We did several fundraisers for him fairly quickly, supported him and his family. And then, like Heather said, we moved into the mental health portion of it. And I think it was 5 years ago, we did just a spouses workshop where we just wanted to introduce things to the spouse community, to tell them what to expect, what things we've been through. And then after that year, we kind of morphed into, hey, we want to open this up to all first responders. We saw for the next year, for the second one, okay, what are we going to do for the wives conference this year? Oh, well, let's open it up to the officers. Well, let's open it up to all first responders. So we don't just invite police to this one. For our mental health conference, we have all first responders.
Yeah.
And so that's where our fourth one is coming up this month. So, and I think Lisa, came in 2019.
Yeah. So I was always someone that would go and support Backing the Blue, but I wasn't always a board member necessarily yet until about 2019. And really, it was just kind of a happenstance in the sense that we had a very good friend of ours, a trooper, that was injured in the line of duty. And it just so happened to be that my husband and I got to the hospital right after the ambulance did. And his wife's a good friend of mine. And so we were there in the ER with her before anybody from either of the departments or anybody was there. And as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to her and trying to support her, I'm realizing I don't know if I could answer these same questions myself. I've been a 20-year police wife, and I feel like my husband and I know each other really well. And I'm thinking, wow, she's being pelted with questions left and right. And I'm also seeing something else in the sense that all of the focus was on him, which rightfully so. He's the guy that's injured and in the bed. But you have a spouse over in the corner who's panicking. She's beside herself. She's trying to keep her cool, but she's getting pelted with questions. She's worried about him. She's trying to answer all the nurses' questions, answering the same question multiple times because every different medical personnel came in. Then you start having superiors coming in. And so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, this is a weak spot. This is something that needs to be addressed because, again, I don't think that I could have done it. And she did a great job. And I was over there helping her saying, hey, don't you remember? He had surgery when, he was coaching our kids in baseball and those types of things. And so while she's doing that, in the back of my mind, I'm typing the same questions into my phone. And I'm thinking there needs to be something here for this. And so I took the questions to the ladies and I said, guys, this is everything they asked. They asked what his eyeglass prescription was. They asked what vitamins and minerals that he took. They asked surgical history, prescriptions. I mean, there were so many questions that I was just appalled at how much it was, but they needed to know all of it. And so it ended up evolving to where I ended up getting involved with them just to start taking that, and then gave them the questions. And we've created medical cards that all the officers carry on them now. And I had no clue that you can even get something printed on waterproof paper.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
We give them the
absolutely. And that is so key. I will say that, that we do that even for my mom. We make a little card for her to carry. So it's super important. Hey guys, if you are just checking in with us, we are with Backing the Blue-Denton. These women are incredible. We're hearing how it got started. We got to take our first break, so stay tuned. We will be right back. Not it, because we've got so much more of this amazing story to share. We'll be right back.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org. Together with your voice, we're...
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Kind of like it was a little stutter step on the internet transition there. Sorry about that. But we are here with Backing the Blue of Denton. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for everything you do. We left off with talking about the questions that spouses have to go through when one of our first responders is injured. And Sam, you brought up a good point about your mom having a medical card on her. And when I was in a fire department back in the day, we had a thing called Vial for Life. And we used to put all the medical records in a medicine cup and put it in the refrigerator. And paramedics, if an elderly person had fallen out, they can go right to the freezer, pick it up, get their medical information. It was right there. So this is a wonderful start for our law enforcement, almost like a Vial for Life for first responders. And I think that's great because as a spouse, the traumatic aspect of going to an emergency room and getting hit by all different angles could really be overwhelming. It's severe anxiety. And depending on your resiliency, you can end up having an anxiety attack and ended up in the bed right next to them because of the pressure and the stress. So that is a wonderful idea that you guys came out with.
Well, my other concern with that was when it was my husband, they were still asking him the questions, thinking he was fine. And he ended up having a traumatic brain injury. So he wasn't really answering the questions correctly, come to find out. So the questions they didn't have all the information. So that wasn't helpful either. So when I made the cards, I also checked them with a couple ER nurses that I was friends with. But we also put on there the people to contact, because I know that they were just going to have my husband's sergeant just show up at my door late at night without warning me. And that wouldn't have gone over very well.
Right.
Officer lives it would have gone over very well with. So that kind of information of who shows up at the door and who do you not send to go get the wife and that kind of thing. So we have that information on our cards too. And we ended up getting a Google number. So it just goes to all of us. So if they want to text it or they can call it, any of us can get the number, can get the answer the phone and go, or handle the situation if they just want to text us, that kind of thing. So,
well, and one thing that we noticed that came out of this, again, you want to rise from tragedy. You want to see where the weaknesses, where the needs are. And that was something that we said from a lot of this was, hey, we don't want to find out 24, 48 hours after something's happened. We want to be on call too. I know that's kind of an extreme idea. We pitched it to the chief that was here at the time. And I said, have you ever heard of anything like this? And he said, no, but let's be the first. And I'm like, all right, nice. And so a lot of times we would hear something again, you know, whenever the call and note came out and our husband shared the email, hey, so-and-so went down last night. Well, instead, we wanted to be there to be able to walk the spouse through and say, hey, this is what you're going to need to do. This is how you need to start shutting down your social media. This is what's going to happen next. This is what's going to happen with the media. And so just having the department support like that to know. And unfortunately, a week later, after we discussed that with the chief, it happened.
Yeah.
And we got the call. I think we found out my husband was on call then. And so it was about 12:30 and we found out. But by 2 o'clock, the chief was calling us going, okay, you've got the green light, head to the hospital. Wow. And so it wasn't just, hey, here's this medical card. It helps. It helps tremendously. They can just hand the card to the medical staff, but also to have somebody sitting right next to the family and saying, it's okay, I've got your back. This is what we need to start thinking of, because you're not going to think of everything when you're in the middle of it.
You guys are like the defense team in a football game. You know, you guys are just running blocks,
throwing blocks where there needs to be. Yeah,
which is amazing because, you know, you brought up some good points. Shutting down your social media. God forbid something happens and it's tragic. You know, you can have the news media roll over. You may have them on your front lawn or your neighbor's front lawn. Pulling in and out of your driveway could be a huge to get that person out of that element. That, you know, these are things you don't think of. So you guys are really hitting on the things that matter at that critical point, which will make such a huge difference and a smooth transition for the spouse to be able to get her thoughts together and gather it without being bombarded with all these complex questions.
Well, and just letting them know that if you don't want to talk to somebody, if you want everybody out of your spouse's room at the hospital, tell them to move, because you have that right. We just wanted to empower them to be in control of the situation, because it is them and their family. Yes, they're going to need to talk to their superiors and that thing. We weren't telling them to ignore that, but we wanted to kind of give them the control because it was their husband. And so, you know, we just kind of, that night at the hospital, we just kept checking in with her. What do you need? Do you want people around you? Do you want to talk to these people? Do you want them around when the doctor comes out? Just let us know what you need. And there was several times when she looked at us and said, well, I hadn't thought about that. So just doing things like that. And then, you know, once we went a little further with that, we knew that there's peer support is a big thing with a lot of areas. And we wanted to take that a step further, because a lot of the departments around have peer support teams, including the ones that Lisa and my husband is our department. And so we wanted to be trained. We got peer support trained. All three of us are peer support trained and ready to provide that to any spouse, any family, with the knowledge that we were properly trained. Now, we were always there for support, and we took phone calls and we took text messages and all the things, but we can confidently say we know how to support people for critical incidents and for trauma. And so we've been trained for a couple of years now. So,
and that's so important. You guys are highlighting, you know, when we hear about an officer that's injured and how they are surrounded by their blue family, right? So it's like when they're at work, they have this built-in support system while the spouses are at home, sometimes with kids, sometimes without kids. But when the proverbial poop hits the fan, the family members need the support, because the support for the officer is already there. Yes. And sometimes out of the goodness of everybody's heart and wanting to be there, it is everybody trying to, like, not purposely step on or be in the way. But I think it's beautiful, the fact that you guys bore this program, this support out of a horribly tragic event here in Dallas. You recognized exactly what the family members needed. And if there was any question, you went to somebody like an ER nurse that could help you fill in the blanks. This is how successful programs run. I was just listening to a podcast as one of our nonprofit partners with Carry the Load, and she was explaining how the command staff, she lost her son. The command staff came to her and said, hey, will you come meet the family? Will you walk them through what you've been through? And at first she was like, what? Because it was like reliving her own trauma. But she realized the more that she could talk to them about it, relate exactly the steps and stages, it kind of put her in a work mode. So her trauma and kind of went over here where she could focus directly on the spouses. Now, let me just ask, you have an injured officer, the spouse is there, kids. How do you guys have people that will help out with the kids, or at the hospital or at the house? Because we all know that there are certain ages, you know, you're not going to bring necessarily your infant, or it could just be, you know, even your 6, 7, 8, 12-year-old, just because you know that they don't want to see mom or dad in an injured state.
We've always said that we would provide, you know, if something happens and you need us to come sit with your kids, we'll do that too. Or we'll set up a schedule to where people can help with kids. That particular family had, when they were notified, when the wife was notified, one of the other officers sat with the kids until family could get there. So that part was covered. Yeah. And they ended up sticking with kids. The kids stayed with somebody they knew. But we are prepared to be able to provide, sure, if we need it.
So far, there's always been a family member close by that has been able to do that. But we also have been able to give information on support for the child or children. So far, like other groups that do counseling and things like that for kids in that position. So we also just sometimes just have the information, know who to call, and that helps, because you don't always know who to call. You don't know what to search on Google.
Exactly. And Sam, you brought up a good point, because I've been to the hospital with multiple injured officers, and they do have their support, sometimes so much that the family members, it's like parting the blue sea, trying to shuffle the family members into the hospital room. And for a spouse, that can be quite intimidating.
Yes.
You know, that could be, you know, not only overwhelming. She sees all these gold shields.
Oh,
what?
Get the lights.
It's still too long.
That was Los Angeles. Michael Moore, Chief Michael Moore doesn't want to hear about backing the blue. So he's sorry
about that. We said still too long.
So, you know, it's intimidating for an officer to tell a chief or an inspector to get out of my room. I can't imagine what it could feel like for a spouse to go, you know, can you please give us some privacy? And detectives and everybody else are going to want to know what happened. So yeah, running blocker.
Give us a minute till we can get the officer treated, and then we'll figure out what's going on.
Right.
In those incidents like that, again, your spouse is not going to think of all those different things. Your mind's jumbled. And I think that's a lot of what we try to do, is just to empower the spouse and say, hey, here's your rights. Here's your rights as a spouse. You can say no. You can set boundaries. You can say, I need a moment. And it is completely within your rights. You don't have to. And again, everybody's intention is good. They want to be there. They want to support. But it's okay to say, hey, I just need a second. Or can we have a private moment? Or can we put limitations on things? And so that's what we try to do as well, is just, we're not there to take over, but we're here to say, hey, you know what? These are your rights. This is what you can do to take care of you, as well as taking care of your spouse at the same time. Yes.
And on down the line, this is how you deal with workers' comp.
That's fantastic.
So here's
we
what
are
you're allowed
talking with
push workers' comp, because that was a learning experience and not a fun one. But if what I had to deal with it is useful for someone else, it was worth it. So sharing that kind of information is, in the long term, is very important too.
Well, let's get into that right
we
after
are talking with backing the Blue-Denton. Yes, we're talking with Back in the Blue-Denton on a Badge of Honor podcast. We got to take our second break here. We will be right back, so don't go anywhere.
To the Health Engineer Show, I'm Clint Bucoy, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat.
Hi, I'm Larry Cortamp.
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat.
Hi, this is Doreen Milano. Welcome to Big Ideas Small Business, where we will be talking to Terry Arjala.
Hey, welcome back. I didn't even get a chance to even read anything. Back to Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We have Backing the Blue out of Denton, Texas, sharing some amazing information with us that so many people should, if you missed the beginning, replay this because it's valuable information. You know, we were talking about what goes through a spouse's mind when their other spouses hurt, and you brought up workman's compensation, and I was ready to. If I had a hammer close, I'd be banging my head because it's a lot easier to hit my head self with a hammer than deal with those people at workman's compensation. And it could be, and that could triple the stress on somebody.
Yep.
What are some of the hurdles that you went through with workman's compensation?
Well, so as I mentioned earlier, my husband had a traumatic brain injury. At first, they just wanted to write it off as a short concussion, no big deal. And I had to really push he did not know where he was that morning. He's not talking, like he can get little words together, but he knows who I am. But we've also known each other since the 7th grade. So sometimes he kind of forgets that we're married at this point. He would forget
That's just the male mind. That's the male mind.
He would forget that I was done with school, things like that. He was having a lot of trouble remembering things, and I had to do a lot of, this is more than just a little concussion. And I had to do research finding out traumatic brain injuries because I was a classroom teacher at that time. So I didn't have all my special ed stuff that I do now. But I had to really push for, he needs more. Just having him, because the first doctor just said concussion. And then finally I pushed and they're like, okay, well, we'll send you to a specialist and find out how bad it is. So they sent us to a specialist and found out how bad it was about, 3 months later. And that's when they finally was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe it is a traumatic brain injury. How about he play video games and that'll work with his spatial recognition? I'm like, video games? Are you serious? But okay. So we tried that, but it took it was about 6 months until he was really talking. He was finally with it enough to know where he was, but he still shouldn't have been driving. I was still hiding the keys when I left for work. I was still calling him and reminding him to eat, things like that. But it was a lot of, no, I'm still having all these symptoms. I'm still seeing this. I'm still seeing this. This is not okay. This is not where he was. This is not his norm. Of course, something you see a lot with traumatic brain injury is he was angry, on top of what ended up being PTSD as well. And again, that was me having to push of, no, this isn't enough. This is not what his personality is normally like. This is not he's normally funny. He's normally very loving. He's not angry. So pushing back of, this is not my husband yet. You got to do more. And we finally got him to a amazing therapy that they came and picked him up every day and drove him it was somewhere like Irving, and worked with him on rebuilding his memory and rebuilding his speech and his motor. But that was not cheap, and workers' comp wasn't really happy with me about that. But I pushed until he came back to being my husband.
And this is 6 months after the fact.
6 months after the fact is when I finally got them to realize that just playing video games was not enough, and then get him to that. He does remember our son being born, or parts of it. But so then that was, about a year after. So it took a lot of pushing to really, a lot of appeals. And I wish that somebody would have told me that, hey, you could have, you could have pushed a whole lot harder with TMPA a whole lot earlier. That you would have called them, they would have been there a lot faster. Because man, when he was like, have you talked to TMPA? I was like, I didn't know that was an option. I didn't. Who's that? What do I do? Right. And once we got the lawyer involved from them, things got pushed through a whole lot faster. So that was also helpful.
See, this breaks my heart because the officer that just took his life in New York, he was going to the medical doctors of the NYPD, and he was denied again for a certain injury, and it was trying to put him back to work. And I guess, the frustration factor was too much. I don't know how many times he was denied in the past, but workman's compensation, these people do not know. And like you said, if you don't know the questions to ask or the organizations to reach out to, you're stuck fighting that phone call wall each and every day. And for 6 months to not be able to speak or to me, that is gross negligence on the department's part and on everybody's part that treated your husband. That's so sad. I feel so bad that you went through that.
He's better now.
He's all good. He's good.
And with a different department.
Yeah. That's great. That's really great to hear, because you throw TBI on top of that, and we've heard stories longer to get back. Talk about status check and what you guys have put together and what's coming up at the end of this month, because that mental health, we realize, having a physical injury is one thing, because everybody sees it, everybody understands. Even a TBI is invisible. Your husband's case was probably understood at some levels. But when you're dealing with that invisible post-traumatic stress due to the trauma, it's a whole different ballgame. So first, from John and I, we want to thank you for taking this on, for doing another conference and I hope it goes on forever and ever and ever, because I think right now we're at a precipice with the mental health in this country as it pertains to law enforcement and first responders, because everybody at the federal level and everybody at the state level wants to get that recognition to say, oh, look at the laws we passed. When in reality, we already know that it takes organizations like you to actually get the folks the care they need. It's not these because you're jumping through hoops with the legislation. And so I got on my soapbox for a second, because the politics around this, it's not about saying, hey, I was the one that got this law passed. Okay, we've been operating at grassroots for a long time. We know it's organizations like Backing the Blue-Denton that have really taken this on. And Lisa, when we connected, I think you said you had 175 participants, and that's first responders and their family members. Last year, I would imagine this year is going to be even bigger. Tell us about Status Check.
So when we started this conference 5 years ago, it was the first one we did was just for wives, and just to kind of show them what to expect as a spouse of a law enforcement. And then we wanted to get into the mental health. So this is our fourth one, and we try really hard to get culturally competent speakers who not just are counselors or not just speakers, but they've been there, they've been through the trenches with people, and they know how to support first responders. And they know how to support first responders' families. And so we usually have 3 to 4 speakers throughout the day, and we try to we understand that there's lots of different conferences out there, and we get that. We're not trying to get everybody. We just want to reach as many as we can and provide it at a low cost so that we can have as many people. And we want to make sure that the spouses are welcome and feel like they can come and hear what their first responders are going through and what to look for.
Yeah.
So we have.
That's fantastic.
So we have.
So you serve beyond Denton.
For this
then
particular
for this conference,
thing,
right?
For this particular thing, I invite, we send emails to anybody I can find an email for, any department, any fire department, police department, EMS. We put it on social media. We have our husbands put it on their Facebook groups. We're calling, we're emailing as many people as we can reach, just however we can reach them. We try to meet people where they are. And so we've sent out hundreds of emails. So we're hoping for a few more. We still have room for people. This year, we're providing breakfast, lunch, snacks, all the materials you need, all the speakers. We have vendor tables of different providers and different entities that are going to be there that you can talk to during breaks and at lunch. And we will be there to provide whatever you need. If you need phone numbers for providers, we'll give you those. If you need just somebody to talk to, we can do that too. And we're not seeing.
Now, do you have a portion? Sorry, do you have a portion of either the what you're bringing in from the conference or from different fundraisers that you're doing? There's a lot of qualified first responder practitioners, because it's definitely about being culturally competent, and there's a lot of programs that will give first responders, free care, at least some sessions. Do you guys help to pick up, cost and help out a first responder if they are really in need?
We have done that. We have, because there are some departments around here where they're small and people talk, and, there's a stigma attached with mental health. And so we have put it out there that if you want to go to a counselor, we can refer you. Number one, we can refer you. And number two, if you want us to pay for it so that there's not insurance trails, we can do that too. We have some counselors that have offered some discounts. Basically, whatever they need, we're going to find it for them. And we're always adding providers to our list. And we have a resource page on our website, and we've put things out there for people. That way, if they don't want to talk to us and they just want to go look and find something on their own, that they can find it.
I get that. We also have had a few that
that's awesome.
I want to go talk to someone, but my wife wants to come too, or my significant other wants to come too. And we've found counselors that are willing to do that. Like even if the other one's not talking, just to be there to support, we found counselors that are willing to have that happen, because if that's what you need, do it.
Well, that's a big party.
That's outstanding. We're gonna take our last quick break. We're gonna come back and talk about all the resources on your website, because it's an awesome website. Guys, you are listening and watching Back the Blue-Denton today on a Badge of Honor podcast. We will be back.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our very special guests from Backing the Blue in Denton. Man, so far, and I know this hour has gone so quick, we've divulged into so much information, valuable information, that anybody who lives with or is around a first responder should have knowledge of. And you guys are providing such great information to people that are unaware and or may be intimidated or may just not know what to do. And you guys are really paving that road. And to tell you the truth, I don't see any other organization who has done what you have done. This is valuable information that you guys are getting across. That means so much to families across the nation, and I hope others pick up where you started.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can find all this information on backingthebluedenton.com. Okay, so when you land on that page, you will see a menu across the top. You know, I definitely understand that family members may be overwhelmed. So maybe if you have a situation where a direct spouse is overwhelmed, if you're a friend, or like John said, it's a neighbor, you know somebody that is struggling, go on to the website, backingtheblue-denton.com, and take a look at everything that you can tap into and send it along. Because you guys have done over the years since you started the homework, you've added more and more resources. I wanted to ask, that card that you guys have for the officers, for the spouses, can they find that on the website?
It's not on the website, the exact card, but our email's on there, and you've sent it to other departments and taken we'll take our identifying information off of it. We're not looking for credit, but
no, I just want it used. We had some departments last year that were for a distance that wouldn't make sense to have our information on there. So I just sent them the template that they could edit and take off our information, and even sent some instructions on how to best print it, because that's a doozy of trying to get it printed correctly. And as even the little plastic thing that we put it in, and sent them all that information of, please use it however you need. If you have any more questions, reach out. I'm happy to. So,
and one thing that we've done before too is not only do we spread this for the officers, but we also make it a point to have the departments communicate with their fire or their EMS to say, hey guys, this is the pocket it's going to be in. Look in this pocket on their chest, or look behind their vest. And that way, if that person is unconscious or their spouse isn't there yet, their neighboring agency knows where to find this vital information.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Make it standard on some part of the body, right? Because usually the officer or the first responder before the spouse does, and those critical moments of what his medical history is very important to the treatment that he gets. So the quicker we can get the information to the doctors and nurses that are there to help save his life, the better. So this is a life-saving thing, and I hope to see this go nationwide. I never heard anything like this, except for, you know, like I said, for the elderly and stuff like this. To do it for first responders is amazing. I commend you totally on this.
We've also encouraged the significant or spouses to have a backup, just in case something goes down. Yep. Just have them fill it out twice. It won't hurt, you know.
Or at least take a picture of it with your phone or something that you have on you.
Have a copy of yourself.
Yep.
So that's when we've had events and they've asked for more than one, really, absolutely. You have as many as you need.
We're giving them away at the conference at Status Check.
Yes.
Everybody gets one.
I think it's perfect. I think it's wonderful. Sam, did you freeze?
Great.
There she is.
No, so maybe I did. I was taking notes here. You know, I want to let everybody know, you can go on the website again, backingtheblue-denton.com. There's still space to register for Status Check, which is coming up Friday, January 27th, right? Starts at 8 a.m. and there are also, if you're do you still have vendor space available for organizations? Okay, so if you're listening, you want to help out, you guys, this has been a powerful time with these incredible ladies. You can hear the passion in their voices. You can see that they are fully invested in what they're doing, and no doubt they are making a difference, not only in Denton County, but beyond. And I hope that this continues. And it's really the education piece. So if you've got questions, again, they've got an incredible resources and a website where you can get a lot of your questions answered. And thank you for being so generous to say that your emails are right on there. And that people will, they can email you and you can send them that template, just blank if they want to. Well, everybody should. Just do it. Action steps, right? That's how we started. So we want to thank you all so much for coming on, for spending this hour with us. Again, it's the grassroots organizations that we know. Forget Chief, whatever the heck his name is, in
Michael Moore.
In
Michael
a city
Moore.
that,
Remember that name,
yeah,
Michael
okay.
Moore. It's in my brain.
Yeah, well, forget him.
Chief Michael
We
Moore should
know
not be a
what the
chief.
thin blue line. We know what the thin blue line stands for. Fly your flags proudly. Back the blue proudly. And again, go on to backingthebluedenton.com. Buy something if you want to support. Donate. Let's keep fighting the good fight when it comes to smashing the stigma. Let's take care of our officers, because if there's any time I think in history, I'm saying it, in the history of what we're going through, our officers, our first responders need help right now, and they need our support. So thank you so much, ladies. We'll be seeing you on the 27th, and thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Thanks for
Take
having
care.
us.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Good night. Wow.
Man.
Okay. Just incredible. Yeah. And again, I can't say it enough. You have to visit their website, because if you're listening to this on your podcast app, it's backingthebluedenton.com, backingthebluedenton.com. On there, check it out. Support. Hey, everybody is in that support category, right? So you want to know how to support the podcast here, directly make an impact for your first responders. Couple of ways you could, if you're watching this on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. You could jump on to the website here, badgeofhonor.com. Hit the donate button. You can even subscribe right from our website. Everything that you donate, okay? Yes, we've got a tad bit of overhead that we have to take care of, like, you know, doing stuff for this podcast, so we can bring you the amazing guests like we just had with Backing the Blue, because it's all about putting out information and connecting people to organizations that truly make a difference for our first responders and our veterans. Hey, set up Amazon Smile. I have to continue to thank one of our huge supporters, Judy Lamp out there. She reminded me, Amazon Smile, Sam, Amazon Smile. AmazonSmile.com, designated badge of honor. Every time you make a purchase on Amazon, they will donate a portion of that to a badge of honor. We've also got our first major fundraiser on March 10th. That's a community golf outing where, again, your participation directly goes to affect the life of a veteran and first responder, because we're in this together. We along with the Garland Police Department, 9th Street Gym, and Sons of the Flags are beneficiaries of that fundraiser. You can go onto our website and on our calendar, click on, you'll see it on March 10th. You get the information right there. It's they're playing in groups, foursomes. If you play golf, great, go. You can verbally reserve. If you don't play golf, come out and volunteer. Volunteer is what makes the wheel keep spinning and helps everybody out. Again, it's all there, in addition to all of our walkthebridge.org information. And we've got the information about status check on January 27th, and it's up in Denton. And you can click on the link there, get the information. But folks, come on, go on to their website, backingthebluedenton.com. Register for the event. If you are a first responder spouse, a grandmother, a cousin, you want to know this information, okay? So go ahead and register there. And to all of our first responders out there, we thank you for what you do every single day, putting your life on the line, protecting our communities. Ignore the idiots that reside in LA and the LAPD. Go, if you want to stay a cop, come to Texas. Go to Florida. Go to somewhere where you are valued and your service is valued. Open arms. We welcome you because there's a lot of departments hiring. So get the heck out of a place where you're not supported. Come where you are, because we love you and we got your back. To all of our veterans out there, thank you for what you did, fighting the good fight so that we can be here every single week to talk about the tough stuff and not get canceled. It's all about freedom, folks. And then to all of our active members who are currently serving, thank you for keeping us, our shores safe, our country safe. We can't do it without you. John, take us home.
The only way to take us home today is in the spirit of backing the Blue out of Denton and a badge of honor. I want to dedicate this show to NYPD officer Stephen Hernandez and Dallas firefighter John Salix. I hope I said that right, Salix, who both lost the battle to post-traumatic stress. And this show is dedicated to you, your families. You'll always be in our prayers. We will always say your name and we will always remember you. And until next week, God bless everybody.
Yeah, you know, sorry, I'd be remiss because, you know, we've got this new right here above me. Thank you, Carry the Load. Again, another incredible organization. We are so blessed to be nonprofit partners with them for 2023. Thank you so much. Again, making direct impacts on the lives of our veterans and first responders. Stay tuned for how you can get involved with us and this phenomenal organization. You got it. Till next week, everybody. This is John and Sam from A Badge of Honor podcast powered by the OBBM network. Take care.
Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.